Thank you, go. Here we go.
What's up, people?
I'm going to shoot on my Canon as well.
Hey!
I've got it.
Canon, what's up?
There you go. Greetings, folks. I'm Jason McNamara from jasonmcnamara.net, and this guy is...
Phil...
Go on, say the real name.
X?
Say the real name. Phil... the Greek name.
Theophilus Xenidis.
Again?
What?
Say it again.
What?
In the Greek vernacular.
What? Theophilus Xenidis.
That's cool.
Phil X.
There you go. Phil and I met yesterday, and we've become like really good old friends in 24 hours. It's funny
how
isn't it?
that happens.
It does happen.
Sometimes you just click.
Well, it turns out we have some mutual friends.
We do.
So, like, we both come from a cover band background, which is a kind of a funny thing, and we got like some Canadian mates who are in common.
We do.
Particularly Kareem.
Particularly Kareem Musa, the drummer that I was in a band with called Big Banana in Toronto before he went on to play in Dubai, and I moved to Los Angeles.
And I knew him because I was playing in Dubai.
See?
So,
crazy.
Yeah, it's a small world we live in. It's funny. Let's get into a couple of fun... Actually, you know what? Before we even do that, I had a great time jamming with you last night, dude. That was so much fun.
Man.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about coming here. That it's like the factory, the offices, the concert hall, and then they have a small club down the street.
Yeah, it's crazy,
and
isn't
you
it?
go and jam, and it's fun.
And the funny thing is, I hadn't played a gig in like a year. It was the first time I'd been on stage in a year.
Yeah, but shut up. It's not like, man, I haven't played in like 16 years.
No, but I'm serious. I used to play 6 nights a week in Dubai and all that. And these days, all I'm doing is videos.
Wow.
So, like,
You're busy.
I'm very busy.
That's good.
But I literally haven't been on stage playing a gig in a year. So playing on stage with you was the first time I've been on stage in a year.
Wow.
So that wasn't just trying to like brag to say, hey, I was all right, but I mean, I'm like you. I get up on stage and just, I don't care who's there. Fuck it, let's have a great time and rock out. And, you know, you and I would like jumping around.
I gotta admit, I've gotten a little trepidatious because everything's on YouTube the next day. So where you could just get on stage and have fun and you don't care what it sounds like and everybody's just, or either drunk or something like that, and you just have fun. But when everything's on YouTube the next day, you have to be a little more critical. You walk on stage and you're like, wow, okay, that wasn't very good. I'm done. because that's when the trolls come out and go, man, you suck last night. And you're like, even though you know you sucked last night,
you don't need to hear it.
Fuck off, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But
totally.
But at the same time, it is about having fun.
Hell yeah. So we played some AC/DC.
At the same time, you also wanted to sound good.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Well, we played some AC/DC, we played some Zeppelin, we sung some harmonies together.
And you don't get, it's you're playing Communication Breakdown and the drummer's forgetting to go. So, but you let it go because you're jamming.
Exactly.
You can't expect everybody to play it perfectly, but you just want to get through the song.
I love the fact that we finished and you said, oh, wow, harmonies. That was fun. I really appreciated that.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Went straight in here, man. I appreciated that a lot.
Nice.
It was cool.
Awesome.
So, look, I want to ask you a couple of things because, firstly, I'm sure you've talked about this a lot, but I actually haven't heard the story. And you don't need to give a huge explanation, but just how the hell did you end up getting contact with John and getting the Bon Jovi gig? How did that happen?
Is
there a short version?
Yeah. Like that.
Because Richie just walked out the door one day, right? And they needed somebody.
It's the funny thing is that, and it's not funny actually. In 2011, he had done a couple of gigs where it was kind of questionable.
Okay.
Like not being able to walk on stage and stuff like that. So John was like, I need a guy. Just in case we need someone, and John Bon Jovi called John Shanks, who had produced 4 or 5 Bon Jovi records, and John Shanks had just then started watching my videos on YouTube.
Good timing.
Yeah, and so when I met John Shanks, he came up to me he had a studio at Henson, and I was recording at Henson, and he came up to, I was in room D, and he came in and he goes, "You're a funny motherfucker." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I couldn't stop watching your videos last night. And not only are you funny, but you can play and sing anything. It sounds like it." I'm like, "Wow, thanks, nice to meet you," kind of thing. And then, and he's a great guitar player in his own right. Like, he's played with Melissa Etheridge and Rod Stewart, and he produced the Bon Jovi records.
Yep.
And he's also on tour with us playing guitar. But anyways, he gives John my number, and at the same time calls me and he goes, "Hey, I might have a gig for you, but I can't tell you what it is over the phone. Can you come into my studio tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm like, "So what is this?" And he's like, "Well," and he tells me, and I'm like, "Right."
Yeah, of course.
And then it was lawyers and managers for a really long time. But April 2011, April 14th, the phone rings and it's John Bon Jovi. Wow. But he leaves a message because it was an unknown number, so I didn't answer it. And then I checked the message. "Hey Phil, it's John Bon Jovi calling. Can you call me back?" And I'm like, "Fuck!"
Wow.
So I call him and I'm like, "Hey man, what's up?" And he's like, "Well, I want you to come to New York and rehearse with the band for 2 days and put you on hold for May." And I'm like, "Okay." So,
this is before Richie had walked out.
Well, he walked out in 2013. In 2011, he went into rehab.
Of course. Oh, okay, yeah.
So I flew to New York to rehearse with the band the same day that he went into rehab, but they had a show in 3 days in front of 50,000 people at the New Orleans Jazz Fest. So I rehearsed with the band, and then they go, "Well, Richie's gone into rehab, so we need you for the month of May." And I'm like, "Okay." So I did 13 shows, and I thought that was it. That's the end of it, you know. Good, Richie's coming back. All is the way it should be, right? So in 2013, you know, I'm at the market, you know, Trader Joe's in Los Angeles, and the phone rings, and "Hey, I think we need you tonight." And I'm like, it's 2 years later.
Tonight.
I haven't played a Bon Jovi song in 2 years, and tonight, you know, that kind of thing.
And where did they want you to be?
Calgary,
Wow.
Canada.
How long's the flight from LA to
Well,
there?
they were gonna throw me on a jet.
Of course.
That was 2.5 hours, but then the jet, something was wrong with the jet, so they put me in another jet, but the jet was slower, so it was 3.5 hours. So I had to get there, and I was working on the Scott Stapp solo record at the time. So all my gear, the important gear, was at Howard Benson's studio in the Valley. So I had to go home and pack my stuff and have my tech and friend, Mark Van Gool, go and get my stuff. And we met at the Signature Airport, and then flew to Calgary. And I missed that show because of the slower jet. But
so who the hell played the gig?
they just did it without Richie. Like, they have a second guitar player.
Oh, of course.
Bobby Bandera at the time, he was doing like utility guitar parts.
Yeah.
And vocals.
And he just stepped
So
up.
and John played guitar all night, which he hates doing. But that's what they ended up doing. But the next night, we were in Edmonton. So went to Edmonton, did a lengthy sound check. John's like, "Hey, the sound check is yours. You're playing tonight. What songs you want to run with the band?" And they had asked me to learn new songs off the Because We Can. No, that record was called Because We Can was a single, but it was that record that was out at that time. So walked on stage, did a show, and then at the end of April, I thought it was going to be like, "Okay, Richie's coming back. Thanks for helping out."
And here we are. So,
No, but it was like, "Hey, we're going to need you to go to Europe."
Oh.
And I was like, "I don't know if I want to go to Europe." And I've never seen panic in faces before, that much panic in my life. They're like, "Oh, he doesn't want to go to Europe." And they're like, "He's got to go to Europe." So it ended up being, instead of 1 month, it ended up being 9 months and almost 100 shows. And then...
and now it's September 2017, you're still there.
Well, in 2014, Richie officially left. And then they'd already had a couple of records in the can with John Shanks. So before before the latest one came out, they had John called me up and he said, "Hey, you want to come to New York and record? I want you to do some guitars on 4 songs for the new record." I'm like, "Great." And then when I did that, then it was so. Oh, by the way, I should elaborate. Tracking in New York was at Electric Lady Studios in the Hendrix Room.
Oh my God.
So what a field in which to frolic.
Wow.
Yeah. And anyway, so we did that, and then we rehearsed, and we were going to start doing some promo shows. And he goes, "So I've decided that I want to put you in the videos and the album art." And I'm like, "Slow down, man. What?"
Yeah, seriously. How many times did you see Bon Jovi growing up as a kid?
I know.
I only saw him on the New Jersey tour and the Crush tour because they didn't come out to Australia as much even back then as what a lot of other
Well, the
countries
cool
did.
I love the history that I have with Bon Jovi in Australia, because we used to do this thing called the jukebox. We would do a string of parts of covers within a Bon Jovi song.
Cool.
And when we went to Australia, John just came up to me and goes, "Hey, we're gonna be in Australia. You should sing some AC/DC." And I was like, "Damn." So in Melbourne, we did "Shook Me All Night Long," and in Brisbane we did "Highway to Hell."
I remember seeing some of those videos. That was very cool.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this guy can sing.
It was kind of like a really cool moment.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Every time we did it. So it was, and the fans went nuts. So it was really amazing.
Well, we did Highway to Hell last night.
People just love AC/DC.
Of course.
Yeah.
AC/DC is a great band, or as we call them in Australia, Akadaka.
Akadaka?
Did you know that one?
I heard that one
Yeah, in
before.
Australia we call them Akadaka.
So that was basically that story.
That's
of how it
amazing,
happened.
dude.
And I'm sure
Congrats.
it wasn't that short.
No, it doesn't matter. It's a
There's a
great
lot-
story.
there's
It's
a lot of
very
detail.
ripping. You must have told that story a billion times, right?
Well, there's different versions of it, because it's
How you execute the story and who you're talking to and stuff.
Well, yeah, it depends, and sometimes you want to include bits that matter sometimes, and sometimes it's just that they don't. I feel like there was a lot of moments of stress doing something like that,
Of course.
because there was a moment before I even got the call, where I was learning everything, and they sent me DVDs, and here's the show, learn this, and I'm okay. So I got my guitar and my pocket Marshall and a vocal with lyrics on a music stand, and I'm playing to my dogs in my living room, and I'm fucking running the show, and I'm thinking, do I want to do this? I don't think I fucking want to do this.
Really?
Fuck this shit. And, put the guitar down and sit on the couch and turn on HBO, and what's on?
Bon Jovi.
Yeah, like the documentary When We Were Beautiful. So
that's
if
so
that's
funny.
not a sign to continue.
Yeah.
I don't know what is.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Man. So the thing that some of you may not know if you're not too familiar with Phil's background is we actually come from the same background of basically having been cover band musicians back in the day.
Yeah.
So the fact that myself, you, and a billion other dudes out there have done the same thing, where we didn't get into a big famous band and we just became cover band musicians, which there's nothing wrong with that. You do originals along the way, you do covers along the way. Some people
I
become
think you're blessed if you
tribute
get to
musicians.
make music and pay your bills, man.
That's right.
I think so.
And then for one of us to become one of them, it's awesome that you got to do that, man. It really is. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, it's the dream gig. It's the gig we dream about. Like 3 nights ago, I played in Sao Paulo in front of 50,000 people, and then.
Here you are in Germany when there's like 50 of us here.
But I love playing guitar. I love making music. I love geeking out. I'm like a true geek. I'm a nerd when it comes to guitar and music and all that stuff. And I think being in a cover band, we should really talk about that, because a lot of kids, they don't get into that situation where you're playing somebody. Playing with people is so important for your advancement as a musician.
100%.
And learning songs by ear, not by YouTube or tablature. It's about learning, dropping the needle. Okay, well, I said drop the needle.
They don't know what we're talking about, but you and I
It's
do.
about selecting which song you're listening to in your iTunes and rewinding and rewinding and rewinding until you have the part. Now, if you get stuck it can help you out, right?
Yeah.
Just don't listen to the wrong guy, because some guys teach the wrong shit.
See, that's the thing. For those of you out there who are watching who are, like, say, below even 25, 30 perhaps, when we were growing up, we didn't have the internet. So we would literally, as he said, drop the needle. We would pick up the needle from our record player, just move it back a smidge, put it back down. We could only listen to the song in full speed. We couldn't even, like, slow it down and hear it and all the rest of it. So we would sit there for hours on end just learning purely by ear. And honestly, I think we had a great basis for learning, because there's no way in hell that Jimmy Page had those things. He just created it from scratch. Yeah. And of course, he listened to other guitar players.
Totally.
Same thing with all these other dudes, Brian May and all the rest of them.
And you got to remember something else. I don't read, but when in 1999, I became a sought after session guy. So before the Bon Jovi thing happened, I played on Rob Zombie records, I played on an Alice Cooper record, to Daughtry and Kelly Clarkson and Avril Lavigne and Chris Cornell. I played on one of his songs. I mean, I was sought after as a session guy, and it's because of my ear. I had all that ear training. When you get to a certain point that you've learned 100 songs, you could be in a radio and you know that song is an A because you know what an A chord sounds like.
That's exactly
and
right.
You know, and I don't read and I don't have perfect pitch, but I know that's an A, and that chord's a C, and then the next chord was G, and then the next chord was D, and that's how you hear music now, because you know interval.
That's true, because once your ear gets trained enough, you can hear a band that's tuned down a full tone on the guitar. They physically play a G, but it's an F. But you know that's that sound of that open G chord because of the resonance of the strings.
Exactly.
But you know it's an F because you can hear the tuning's not the same.
Totally.
So you even start to hear the voicings of the notes. So the more you do that, it's true. The ear training is the ultimate way to learn.
And this is now I got a guitar, so I might as well show you. Like, there's so many things that people don't consider.
Yep.
That we think is obvious. Like, say the Cult, she sells Sanctuary.
Yep,
right?
Sure.
Everybody knows it's like. Right? You know by the sound of that, it's not this. You know what I mean?
We were just talking about Black Sabbath before you started as well.
It's skinny strings, fat strings. You know, Paranoid, which was what we were doing. You know it's not. Because that
totally different sound.
Yeah. Or. And it's not this. You can hear the.
Totally.
I haven't adjusted any knobs, kids. No tone knob, no nothing. Fat strings sound fat, skinny strings sound skinny. That's the way of the world.
Totally, 100%.
Totally.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, that voicing alone. And then when you start writing your own material, you start feeling the way that you wanted to voice, because you have the experience of knowing that stuff too. It's a really cool way to go.
I mean, like, even like, I love open string tuning stuff. Like the She Sells Sanctuary stuff.
Yeah.
But there's like a...
I know that song. What song is that?
It's Hang 'Em High by Van Halen.
That's right, of course it is.
Or even like... There's like... or like, okay, I love... This is not how it's played, but I love being able to go like... I love chordal little really cool things that you don't usually pick up on unless you're like really listening for it, because that's a hidden part in Jumpin' Jack Flash, I think. But I do stuff like I love droney stuff because I love Greek music, right? Because I grew up on it when I was a kid. So I'm working on I have a new song by my band The Drill. It's called No Woman of Mine, and it's all because a lot of YouTube fans are like, hey, you should do a blues tune. And I'm like, I'm not a big blues fan. I'm not going to do a cover. So I kind of wrote a blues tune.
Nice.
And the cool thing about it was I got Abe Laboriel Jr. on drums.
Oh, you can't get much better than that.
I love him. and he's a dear friend, and Doug Pinnick from King's X on vocals. Well, we split it up. He did
Doug do bass as well?
No, he just came in and sang. Because I have 12 drummers on the new Drills record.
Wow.
From Abe to Tommy Lee to Taylor Hawkins to Kenny Aronoff to Matt Chamberlain. It's going to be pretty sick. But I want
pretty sick.
Yeah.
That's an understatement. That's insane.
Sick. So it's my bass player though in the Drills who played all the bass. I just wanted to keep me and him the common denominator.
Cool.
And then a different drummer. So the drummer would come in and we'd be a band for an hour and a half while we talked about how we were going to do the arrangement, and then lay live off the floor, do another take, see you later, thanks, and then another drummer would come in, and we'd do it all over again. So it's pretty amazing. But the droney, my blues is a droney. It's kind of like I go.
Was nice. I like that ending.
Well, I love bendy, sleazy stuff, right?
Hell yeah.
And I just love, and then there's another part, the whole like that comes from my Greek background.
You can totally hear that. I could imagine that on a bouzouki.
Yeah, so it's that kind of thing where I just I love notes droning out, and even quarterly, like, and it's funny because I'll do it backwards. You get like a. I'll make the drum the top string.
Yep.
So you do stuff like.
That's the problem with drones. You got to be perfectly in tune.
Yeah, let's tune for a second.
I've got another question.
This guitar is my signature Framus.
I was just about to say I got another question, which is how did you get involved with Framus? We'll get to that in a minute.
This is right off the shelf, so I don't think it's been like played much. I forgot to bring mine, left it at the hotel room.
Earlier today, Phil and I did a factory tour together, which I'm going to take time to get that video. It's a long video. And he was actually selecting woods off the shelf while we were walking around.
For the next guitar.
How cool was that?
Hey man, this seems like the right way.
And that's documented too, because I did it on video.
It's going to be awesome. And then I'll have to send you the picture of the guitar when it's done.
You have to send me the guitar.
That's funny. So it was like kind of thing where you get
I'm sorry, I can so hear that as a Bon Jovi song from like These Days type of
It's actually a drill song on the third record.
Good on you. But seriously, like the These Days era, they did some tunes like that sort of stuff too. But that droning, the way you did it, the opposite and all the rest of that's very cool.
I always find things that make stuff stand out. And I do a bouzouki tuning thing before, which is I tune both E and B to B. And I put it in the same notch. Oh, come on, buddy.
In the same nut space.
Yeah, well now I gotta pull this out and put this in here. So I got like, and you can do bouzouki.
That is so cool.
But then I do. I had a song. It was my old band called Powder. We had a riff, and it was like. gain for it, but the solo is like a.
Here you go.
What was really cool about when you bend it.
Yeah, the dissertation between the two strings because they're different gauges.
Different gauges, exactly.
So I know a little something about this.
And the funny thing about bouzouki tuning was there was one point where we wanted a counter melody in 3 artists' different songs, and I would come up with a counter melody and use bouzouki tuning. So you're at the gym, and you hear a Gavin DeGraw song, and a Daughtry song, and a Kelly Clarkson song, and you played guitars on all 3 songs, so you're already like at the gym like kicking the shit out of the elliptical machine because you're on the radio like 3 times in a row. And then I'm like, oh fuck. Every song had the bouzouki tuning in the chorus. I'm like, I think it's time to lay off the bouzouki tuning.
Have you ever heard of a band from the UK called Haken?
No.
It's like Taken but with a H.
Okay.
Haken have a song called Paradilia or something. I can't remember how to pronounce it correctly. But they actually use a bouzouki in a progressive metal style song.
Wow.
They actually genuinely use a bouzouki in it. I'll have to play it for you later. It's super cool. You'll love it.
Well, Tommy Lee is half Greek, and we were working on his, I think his 3rd solo record, Tommyland the Ride, and there's a song we did called Sister Mary, and I did a bouzouki solo on it.
Cool.
But I mean, I was going for traditional solo, but they wanted to add so we put a little overdrive on the bouzouki so it had more sustain, and it was kind of interesting. But it was a really weird moment because my dad was fighting cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And he's gone now. He passed away in 2005. But and that's why bouzouki is really emotional for me. But Tommy's like, dude, you gotta call your dad right now and tell him you're playing bouzouki on my record. Because when my dad was playing cards with his friends, and they're all talking, and they're in, like how's Phil doing? He goes, Tommy Lee, like, and they're like, who, Tommy Lee? Like all these old guys know who Tommy Lee is because he's half Greek, right? So anyways, so I call my dad.
You speak fluent Greek, yeah?
No, that was actually a good example of how I can fake it. But
okay.
No, I can't really. I understand more than I speak.
Fair enough.
But I called my dad, and I was like, Dad, how's it going? And he was having a bad day, a bad cancer day.
Yeah, fair enough.
But at the same time, I got so emotional because he was like, Dad, I'm playing bouzouki on Tommy Lee's record right now, and he goes, oh, that's good, buddy. And I was like, I almost started bawling my eyes out.
Course.
And then when it was like, I hang up the phone, okay, but Dad, I'll call you tomorrow. And then I hang up the phone, and everybody's like, hey, what'd he say? And you're like,
yeah,
I can't be the bum. No, man, he thought it was great. And then you sit down and you do the solo, and now the solo's coming from another place.
Sure.
Because you get goosebumps.
What's the name of the song?
Sister Mary.
Okay, so I'm going to look it up too, but you guys look it up. Sister Mary, Tommy Lee from Tommyland Riot, right?
The Ride.
The Ride, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Look it up and have a listen to that solo, and then now this is the thing about doing these sorts of interviews, is you've now got the insight as to what was going through the player's mind when you were doing that.
Yeah, totally.
This is the sort of stuff that all these platforms are for, you know?
And just to throw in another situation, because it was funny, I was in Florida, and these guys are walking across the street, and they're like, holy fuck. And I'm like, oh God, what are they're gonna hold me up or something? They're like, are you Phil X? And I'm like,
maybe.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. They're like, dude, man, we're huge fans, man. I'm going to see you with Bon Jovi tomorrow night. I can't wait, and all this stuff. And they're like, so I got a question. I'm like, what? He goes, so like, what happens when you call in sick? I'm like, what? Well, what if you're not feeling good? I go, dude, there's 20,000 people in an arena tomorrow night. You can't call in sick. And they're like, what? I'm like, What do you think, you're going to cancel? No, you can't call in sick. You can't have a bad day. You can't have nothing. You walk on stage.
Just call up Richie Sambora and ask him if he can fill in for you.
Right? He knows the songs.
Exactly.
So, and it was really funny when we were talking about it. And I remember in 2013 when I was doing a bunch of shows, I had a friend, like a really good friend, die in a motorcycle accident.
Oh,
and I found out that the next morning and had a show that night. And
That's
you
hard.
can't walk on stage and be bummed out or mourning or anything like that.
course.
You got to deliver a rock show. And so, I mean, that's what that's like.
Yeah, there's no rest and no
But you know,
reprieve.
it was a beautiful thing. I really heard something because people noticed, like when I do sound check, it's like I'm having a show. I'm entertaining the crew, and I turn around and make fun of the band and stuff like this, and we're all just having fun. So at this particular sound check, I was like dark cloud,
Yeah.
and everybody's like, "Hey man, you all right? What's wrong?" I go, "My friend died in a motorcycle accident. I just found out this morning." So then I did the show. And I rocked, and I walked off, and Tico came up to me and he goes, "I played for your friend tonight."
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I almost started crying, and then I'm almost crying now. And then John came up to me and he said, "Yeah, I played for your friend tonight." And I was in this, you feel like, oh my God, this is a family.
Yeah.
This is, everybody supports everybody. It's like, an amazing
I can
feeling.
see it in your eyes right
I know,
now.
and it's an amazing feeling, you know?
That's awesome, dude. Congrats for getting to where you are.
Oh,
It's to get into that and be with people who genuinely give a shit that you exist. That's insanely cool.
It's just an amazing thing, you know. And then having kids on top of it, you know. I mean, people are like, "Hey, what's it like being a dad?" I go, "Well, I got a huge gig, and I just did 2 nights at Madison Square Garden, and being a dad is better than that."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, when you land a huge gig, it's one of those things, and it's funny because, like Richard Fortas is a friend of mine, and he's fucking playing with Guns N' Roses. So we talk about our experiences, right? Because
You can't share that with too many people because they wouldn't get it.
I know.
Not the same way.
Or John Button is a friend. Not like we're not really close, but we did a session together 2 years ago, and we kind of hung out and kept in touch. And then he goes, "Hey, I think we're gonna be in Sao Paulo at the same time." I go, "Yeah, who you playing with?" He goes, "The Who." So now my buddy's playing bass for The Who. It's like pretty amazing.
Wow.
Right? So yeah, it's that kind of stuff.
You're like, "Hey, I play with Bon Jovi. I play with it." Yeah, okay, I lose. You win.
Well, I don't know, man. The Who is I think it was their first shows in South America ever.
Wow.
And we played the same Sao Paulo arena, and they had maybe 20,000, and we had 50,000.
Well, there you go. Yeah, look, I mean, honestly, it's
Not
pretty
to
hard.
compare,
No.
or compete. It's
No.
not a competition.
Not when you win, it's not.
But it kind of is.
Yeah, exactly. When you win, it's not a competition.
No.
That's crazy, dude. Wow, that's just insane. So, look, the last thing, because we're going to run out of time, we're going to kick
Okay.
you out of the room in a minute. How did you get involved with playing Framus? Because obviously, for those of you that don't know, actually, I shouldn't say obviously, for those of you who don't know, where we are in Markneukirchen in Germany, this is the Framus and Warwick factory. So that's why Phil's here, because he's not just representing as a YouTuber, which you kind of are not really doing so much anymore, I guess. But
Well, I did the Fred Americana thing and had a good run,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I just, you know, I feel like if, you know, it was when it was fun, and when it wasn't, it wasn't.
Fair
Like,
enough. Well, it
it
happens.
became like a job, and I didn't want to do that.
but as a job. So anyway, Framus.
Famous.
How did you get involved? When did you get involved? How did it happen? How did you get
2014.
introduced and all the rest of it?
Stevie Salas, he's a buddy.
He's a good
and
dude.
he's been using the Idolmaker for a while, and he said, "Hey, how's Yamaha treating you?" And I'm like, "Well, it's not bad, but you know, it could be better." And he goes, "Well, why don't you come to Germany with me to this base camp at the factory, and you just take a tour of the factory, meet the people, tell me what you think." And they were really amazing. And then every night, like last night, there was a jam, and I'd get up, and everybody in the room was, "Hi, buddy. Hey, don't sit on my sunglasses. You're sitting on my sunglasses." This is Henning. Oh, you're in the shot.
This is the organizer of GuitCon. This is the man who
I
had the
thought I'll be
brainchild.
an ass and just walk into people's videos since I haven't done a single video. I'll just maneuver
Oh, you're not
myself.
kicking us out yet? You're not kicking us out yet?
No,
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to get some screen time with cool people. And
Well,
oh, yeah.
they're in another room.
Oh,
It's just us here.
sorry guys. I'll find the cool people.
I wasn't even trying to kick him out. Look at that.
You don't have to go.
Oh, I do. It's way too hot in here.
It is hot in here. And just being in this the capacity of such an incredible, and here it comes, an incredible,
I've got you on camera, Hen.
there you go, an incredible group of people. Oh my God, you disappeared.
He did.
You're almost
I'm just gonna
camouflaged
go
on that
into a
carpet.
fetal position from now on.
You seriously, you're blending into the carpet. It's
You're
funny.
blending into the carpet. Where'd you go? I only see a head.
I haven't got my ISO up high enough anyway, so I can't see. All right, so let's keep going with this story.
Okay, so Framus. I'm at the factory. I meet with Hans Peter.
Hans-Peter Wilfer is the head of the whole Warwick operation and the owner and the boss. And he's a damn good man, I have to say.
And he's awesome. And Marcus Spangler is the head of production and design and all that stuff. So I'm talking to Hans Peter about, hey, thanks for having me. He goes, well, you kind of blew everybody away. Every time you get on stage and you jam, people are like, who the fuck is that? And I'm like, oh, that's really
Because
cool.
we come from cover band backgrounds. We can do it.
So he goes, we'd love to make you a guitar to thank you for coming and being so pleasant and entertaining us. And I'm like, he goes, I know you're with Yamaha, so I'm not disrespecting that. We just want to make you a guitar. And I'm like, great. So Marcus comes in. What kind of neck do you like? I kind of like a 59 Les Paul, a little wider at the nut. Got it. He goes away. Talking to Hans Peter, we're still chatting about business and guitars and the company and stuff like that. And in an hour, Marcus comes in like this and hands me a neck, and it's like my dream neck, and he made it in an hour. And by the end of the day, it had a body, and the next day we put a pickup and hardware on it, and I was playing it. And I was like, get the fuck out. And the funny thing about the body is that, you know, when they were like, hey, what Framus guitar do you like that we can make for you? And I was like, well, I gotta be honest, because I'm an honest kind of guy, and I'm not really crazy about any of the models, but you have a Warwick Jack Bruce bass that if you made that a Framus guitar, I'd play that. And they're like, done. So this is based off the Jack Bruce limited edition bass, except we made the horns a little sharper and changed the contour a little bit. So it comes with my pickups from that are made by Arcane, which this is one single PX8, which is an Alnico 8 humbucker.
Get a close shot of that pickup.
And it's the resistance on this pickup is about a 9.3 or something. And again, this is just off the floor. My main XGs have PX90s, which are like a P90 pickup. And they have my favorite ones have one pickup, one PX90, which is like a P90 pickup, but also made by Arcane. And I also have models with 2 humbuckers and 2 P90s. Because if I don't need a neck pickup, I'd rather just use one pickup.
So can you show me what
Guitar.
the Sitch does? Because you got a 3-way there with a single pickup.
And this is like, so it's it's on humbucker. Say again, we don't have to change the gain, but it's not very gainy. Like say I'm playing Raise Your Hands, and it's like. And then say I don't have time to change guitars, but we're going into a whole lot of Lost Highway, which is on the country record. I either put it on parallel or split like. That's right.
Totally different sound.
Totally. So you can get away. You can almost get telly-ish, right?
Very much so. That's what I was thinking. It's got a little bit more bite than a telly, but
a little more. Because again, you're compromising, right? But you know, in an arena they can't tell. Or so I tell myself all the time. again, let's get the one in tune. So there's different voices, and if you had, first of all, when you're in a humbucker mode, there's no hum. So in parallel, there's no hum. I don't hear any hum at all.
Nothing.
And when it's a single
It's
coil,
quieter in us.
well, it kind of is, because we're not really boosting the gain or anything like that. But my thing with the P90 is that the P90 sounds like an angry motherfucker when it's on 10 and plays any kind of rock whatsoever. And then you dial it back to 7, and then you get that telly kind of sound. And then when you turn it down to like 3, that's my clean sound.
Yep.
And it's chimey and glassy, and it's really awesome because that's what P90s do. That's the magic.
So can you just quickly do something samey on the 3 sounds? Just do that with the volume up a little bit and show us the 3 sounds.
So the split and parallel are pretty similar,
There's a difference though.
but the parallel is quiet because it's both coils,
Yeah.
but running in parallel. So if you're in a loud stage sometimes and you're getting single coil hum, it's better to use parallel.
Sure.
Right.
That's a cool sound, dude.
It is. I like it. I dig it. It's awesome.
And
I
so-
would personally have this pickup a little closer to the strings.
Yeah, well, as you said, you just grabbed it off the floor. It's
Yeah.
not a big sound.
Look out!
You're seriously a great guitar player.
Oh, thanks, man.
Really enjoy, you got a cool vibe where you've kind of got a bit of country licks in you, but you've got a rock vibe too.
Well, I grew up listening to the same heroes as a lot of guys my age. It was Eddie Van Halen and.
Well, we talked quite a bit about Van Halen last night.
Totally, but I mean, it was listening to Eddie that made me want to be inventive as a player.
I'm going to fuck with him. You ready? Can you play You're the One?
No, but I can play I'm the One.
Oh, sorry, I'm the one. I was too busy being a smart ass and screwed up myself.
I can't get the balance without playing it for a while. Because it's so like.
Hang on. Oh, he's going. You're the one, I'm the one. Listen to me. What an idiot.
Hey man, can you play a whole lot of licks?
The reason I brought that up is last night we were talking about this. Tell them the story quickly.
Well, it's the George Tripp story.
Yeah.
So George Tripp is a friend. He's the founder and maker of Way Huge pedals, and he also does stuff for MXR. So he was working on a pedal, and he comes in and he goes, "Hey," and I was playing some Van Halen because he wanted me to check something out, and he's like, "Wow, you really got like Ed's hands down pretty good. Can you play on the one?" And I'm like, I start playing on the one. He goes, "Uh-uh." I'm like, what? I go, I know, I don't have the bounce. I don't know. He goes, well, Ed showed me last week. You want me to show you? And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. And then it improved my swing. But I mean, if I don't do it for a while, it's gone. It's not like riding a bike.
It's not an easy song to play.
No, it's not. And I haven't heard anybody really play it right.
Except Eddie.
Except Eddie. But it is like
a great song.
When you listen to the stuff that was going on back then, it is like ZZ Top on speed
Sure.
and steroids.
Nuno's got a lot of Eddie in him too.
Yeah, he does. Nuno, there's a lot of guys, but I mean, I always go back. I try to go before Eddie, and then you listen to stuff like that Yuli Roth was doing with the Scorpions
Sure.
back in '73, and Eddie got a lot of stuff from him. And he got some stuff from Richie Blackmore, and he got a lot of stuff. And he doesn't credit these guys.
But I believe he's got quite a bit from Jimmy Page too.
He did. He was like, oh, I just lived Eric Clapton. I'm like, yeah, but there's more in the bowl, dude. More in the bowl.
Yeah.
In that soup.
Yep.
Than that, you know? And it's funny because I love listening to Uli Roth because the stuff that he was doing in 73, 74 was like, dude, like nobody was doing that stuff. And he was he took dive bombs to like past like where Hendrix left off with the whammy bar stuff. And he was the first guy to do quick runs, you know? And like listen to the solo to Catch Your Train from 73. And it's like, holy shit, people were doing that? No, he was doing that. Nobody else was doing that.
I got a Uli John Roth story for you. I went to have breakfast back in October last year with Elliot, who was this owner of Dean Guitars, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year. He had really vicious cancer. And he was in Japan playing with Uli's band. And I went to the hotel to have breakfast with Elliot and catch up, and Uli John Roth was sitting at the table.
That's nice.
Dude, that was insane. I was like, I didn't actually like stop myself for words. It's just in my head. I was like, holy shit, that's Uli John Roth. And of course, I mean, you know, I'm like you. I've met Eddie and all these other people. So I'm just like keeping myself together. I was like, wow, I didn't expect you to be here. It's really great to meet you. And
well, now that we're talking about videos, the cool thing about stuff is like you never know who's watching.
That's so true.
Because there has been like people that like I was in Tone Merchants, which is Dave Friedman's store in the Valley, and Joe Bonamassa walked in, and he walked in and he goes, Phil X, dude, I love your videos. And I'm like, what the And then there's a couple of people I met that, like Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots. He comes up to me when I meet him, and he's like, hey man, what's happening? Woo! And you know, we're hanging out. I'm like, hey, thanks for pretending that you know me. And he's like, wait, we've never met? I go, no. He goes, oh my God, dude, I watch all your videos. Like, people think that they know you when they watch it. And it was the same thing with like Peter Frampton. I meet Peter Frampton, and he's like, we've met. I'm like, no, we haven't. No, we have. I'm like, dude, you're Peter Frampton. I remember meeting you. He's like, I go, but I'm going to go out on a limb here. Maybe you've seen some of my videos on YouTube. He goes, that's it. I'm like, that's why I say, when you put something on YouTube, make it special because you don't know who's watching.
That's exactly right. 100%.
Totally.
Man, because, you know, for those who don't know me, I just finished working at Ishibashi Music in Tokyo after 4.5 years, and Alex Lyson walked into the store one day, fellow Canadian. Just walked in, I pulled out a camera. Unfortunately, the video's on private right now. Hopefully it'll be back up online soon, but that's a whole thing because of the company I finished working for. But it's a really cool video. We're just wandering around the store. He signs a guitar. He signs a custom shop certificate of his Paul Reed Smith private stock. There was only one of two of his PRS private stock acoustics in Japan.
Wow.
And he signed the certificate and the case for me.
Wow.
And an English guy who lives in Hong Kong bought it from me in the end.
Wow.
And he actually, the day he bought it, he walked in with an R40 t-shirt from the Rush Final Tour just by chance, and he bought the freaking guitar. He didn't even come in for it, but he already knew me and everything. But the thing is, the amount of people that have seen that video and used to come into the store is exactly the same thing as what you're saying. I once had a whole family from Canada, I'm talking like the family and uncles and their family, blah, 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 came in. They're like, we saw your video with Alex Lyson, eh? Oh, that's terrible. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. And anyway, but they were really lovely. They came out of their way on their trip to Japan just to come and meet me because I was the guy that got to meet Alex Lyson. I'm like, so you're right. People watch your videos. Geddy saw the video and ended up buying a 1962 original jazz bass off of me because he saw the video of me and Alex in the store.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you never know who's watching.
You
You're
never
right.
know.
So if somebody famous watches this, please reach out to one of us just to validate this.
Oh, see ya.
And even if you're not famous, just reach out and say hi. We're not bad people. We're friendly enough.
So what else is happening, man?
Well, I make videos for a living now. That's my whole thing. Can you get me a job doing a Bon Jovi video, please?
Well, there'd have to be another record to come out, so that'll probably be in 2 years.
Maybe a concert video. Look, anyway.
Actually, his brother does that.
Really?
Tony Bon Jovi, he cuts everything that you see on the big screen at a Bon Jovi show.
Yeah.
He's doing that fly edit on the fly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And he's got cameras with arms and a track, and it's pretty amazing.
Big budget productions though.
Well, yeah, and then even we had that in was it Sao? No, it was Rio, I think. Rio, we had cranes. It was pretty awesome. Wow. But they were, I don't know if they just brought them in for us. But the other thing about touring with a band like this is you get to meet other people. Like we played with the night before us at Rock in Rio was Def Leppard and Aerosmith, and I'm friends with Joe Elliott now because he saw me play with Bon Jovi in 2013 in Madrid. In Madrid, Spain. So, and since then, it's like, and I love Def Leppard, and they're my wife's favorite band. So, hey, Joe, can you hook us up for tickets if you're playing this casino north of Santa Barbara next week? You mind? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem, come on out. And I got you passes because I want to say hello after. But when you meet somebody at your show, you don't know how they're going to be when you see them again. So he's like, yeah, he gave me a big hug. I'm like, what the fuck's happening? Because I'm a huge fan, right? And I'm like, dude, you guys were awesome tonight. And he's like, okay, forget tonight. You were incredible in Spain. I'm like, oh my God. So it's like, and then again, he sent me an email after seeing as he watched our show at Rock in Rio on TV, and he sent me an email and said, hey, you guys were great. And it sounded awesome. Really good on the TV, which usually doesn't happen.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, and so you find yourself, rubbing shoulders with your heroes when you get in a position with really good videos on YouTube or touring with a band like Bon Jovi. And in my case and in my life, which is actually kind of cool, I've done both, right? So it's cool.
Well, that same day that I went to 5150 in January and hang out with Eddie, in the night time, I haven't told you this yet, in the night time I went to Serenity West in LA, the recording studio, and sat down and did an interview with Mark Dan Zeisen, drummer, and Vivian Campbell.
Wow.
So there's the Def Leppard connection, because Viv's got one of his side bands is the River Dogs.
Yeah, I know.
And I love the River Dogs, and I've become really good mates with Rob Lamoth and Nick Brophy and Mark Dan Zeisen. There was this second time I'd met Viv. First time was 25 years earlier. I haven't had any further contact with Viv, but it was great on the day. We got along. Everything was really cool, and he was lovely. He's just busy, so I don't even try and keep up with him. But the other three guys from the River Dogs, we talk quite regularly.
I see Rob Lamoth every summer at band camp.
He's such a good dude.
He's such a great singer.
Rob Lamoth, seriously, you are one of the best freaking vocalists on the planet, dude. I love your voice. He knows that. I've told him a million times.
I know what he's talking about, and you know what you're talking about, and you know what we're talking about, Rob.
If you viewers out there haven't heard him, listen to the River Dogs. There's a first album from 1990 called River Dogs, and then there's been 5 albums, but this 2017 release that was put out on Frontiers Music was incredible.
I haven't heard it yet.
Oh, you haven't?
I haven't heard it yet.
If you love that first album, they intentionally went out of their way to try and do almost like a part 2 of that album.
Wow.
It's phenomenal. And some of Nick's bass tones, like there's a song called Something Inside, which is the 3rd track, I think it's the 3rd track. I love this tune. That very first song, Whisper, on the first album with a doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, that bass sound is so obvious when he does that. On this song, Something Inside, you could almost swear he somehow or another sampled it.
Oh, wow.
It's so accurately done. And to Nick's credit, he produced the album.
Wow.
He engineered it and produced the album.
Crazy.
Nick's now working in Nashville full-time doing albums. Like he's recording and engineering and doing all that stuff. So, yeah, man.
Crazy.
We actually discovered we got a lot of common friends, so it's kind of quite a few.
There was one other guy, but it's a great like I've met, you meet so many different people, and when I met Zakk Wylde, it was at a wedding. And out of the gate he goes, Father Phil, growing up, Eddie Van Halen or Randy Rhoads? And I'm like, dude, Eddie was first, and because it was 2 years before I heard Randy, right? So that's why, Randy was amazing, and I loved his style, and I learned a bunch of his songs to play in a cover band with, the Aussie songs, but Eddie was the first guy. And I want to go back when it was Eddie Van Halen and who made me want to be more inventive. and that's why I brought up Uli Roth, because when I was doing the connection, because I totally geeked out on it. Wow, he got from Richie Blackmore and Uli Roth and a bunch of other guys and wow, and then I thought, well, I could do that too. I could, borrow from Eddie and Randy and Tony Iommi and Angus Young and make my own pish posh of soup that's Phil X, right? And then I just come up with just weird stuff too, like stupid licks.
We all do that along the way.
Yeah, but it's really stupid licks. No, I don't mean stupid like complicated, just stupid sounding. Like,
and here's one of no.
Well, yeah, okay. Here's one of them. No, like I do this one lick where like some guys, that sounds like a bag of cats fighting, because I love dissonance and I love notes that hang over and rub. I love
like
the rub.
semitones between.
Yeah, but it sounds like. So that kind of thing.
Our editor's really paying attention. Good job, editor. This is all live editing, by the way. I'm not editing this.
Yeah, he's editing. Send me in for the editor.
I'll throw in some of this, but yeah, anyway.
So you have the people that are like, man, that sounds like cats in a bag fighting, and you have the people going, how the fuck, what is that? What's going on? And that's the kind of result.
You're just playing semitones between strings, right?
Yeah, but
That's cool.
That kind of thing, right? So I love that rub because it has an energy to it. So some people dig it, some people don't, but I think it's cool. But just to give you an idea of what I would do if there's an Eddie Van Halen link that goes like, right?
Yep.
I would go, so good. Because you don't want to tap it, because then it still sounds like Eddie.
Sure.
But if I add another note, then I can go. That kind of thing, where you're like, so I took an Eddie Van Halen lick and made it Phil X.
That was crazy, crazy good. Wow. Do that again.
No. That was a fluke, man. I don't have enough game for this shit.
That was unbelievable. That was such a good lick and beautiful execution.
Okay, I'll do it slow for you. So like.
Dude, seriously. My thing about what I like in a musician is I love someone who's worked at their instrument and their art.
I like that too.
They don't have to be the greatest.
The people that put hours into it.
That's
right?
the thing.
Yeah, and they get other things. Like I jammed with a banjo player one time, and I love the things that they were doing with open strings. So I came up with a lick, and then when I write a song, I almost write a solo that challenges me every night. That lick is in a song called "Sunny Days" by my band, The Drills. I do that lick, but there's my banjo lick is like. Missed it. So that's again, you have the dissonance and the hanging rub that happens, but there's like open strings, and I figure you don't have enough open strings, so I make my first finger the open string. So it's like you got an open string. Keeps going up. So it's your first finger becomes the open string, so you can have that rub.
So for the people out there that don't realise, because that's kind of, for somebody who doesn't know, very Zakk Wylde-like, but Zakk gets that from a love of country too.
Yeah.
And I got to admit, I kind of like country when it comes to talented players. It's insane how good some of those guys are.
Well, those guys are insane.
Listen to a guy like John Jorgensen.
And something that Zakk does that I don't, because I don't spend time on it, is
the hybrid picking.
Hybrid picking. He's pretty amazing at that.
I think probably one of the best hybrid picking players in the world, who's not necessarily country, is Brett Garsed.
I don't even know who that is.
An Australian guy used to play with Nelson. He's like very well known around the world.
Oh, he played with Nelson.
Yeah,
when they looked like chicks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he played with a very famous.
Just kidding. Matt Nelson's a friend.
But they did though. Matt and Gunnar looked like chicks. They did.
And they got lots of chicks.
Oh,
looking
sure
like
they
chicks.
did.
Yeah.
But Brett also played, and still does play, with a very, very, very famous Australian singer called John Farnham.
I love John Farnham.
Yeah, well, Brett was like on You're the Voice.
Yeah.
You're the Voice. All that shredding at the end is Brett Garson.
He's good.
So he wasn't always in the band. Do you know Erwin Thomas, otherwise known as Jack Jones?
No.
He was playing with Farnham as well for a while. Him and Virgil Donati used to be in a band in Australia called Southern Sons, and equally as good in different ways, but those guys were just phenomenal. I actually once asked Erwin, I was like, so how do you get really good at the guitar? He goes, listen to Larry Carlton. That was his whole answer. Listen to Larry Carlton.
Larry Carlton's amazing.
Oh, insane. Absolutely insane. See, for me, the guy that made me, like, for Eddie, for you, was Gary Moore.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day.
Gary just blows me away. And with Gary, it's the conviction.
Yeah.
You know? So for me, Gary's just got so much conviction when he plays.
I did a cover gig with Phil Soussan and Vinny Appice.
Oh, wow.
And Teddy Zigzag, who plays Andreas, who plays keys. And we went to Russia and did a cover gig. And Phil wanted to play and sing Back on the Streets.
Oh, I know that song. I can play it for you right now. I know that one. That's it. Yep, you got it. But that's the one that that chord is the one that leads into the solo only.
No, and does it ever...
There's two versions.
Okay, I forget it now.
I feel like I'm back on the streets.
But the cool thing about that song and playing it, and nobody got it because nobody knew it, because you're in Russia. But the cool thing about it was that it's riff after riff after riff after riff, and then after a cycle, there's more riffs, and then this happens 3 times this time, but only 1 time that time, and then there's a solo, and then there's the keyboard thing with the intro.
Oh, with Don Airy on keyboards. Oh, man.
I would do it because we didn't have a keyboard player. No, wait. I did it with the keyboard player. You know that.
Yeah, but that's such a great song.
Yeah,
you know, I actually
and Phil Lynott on bass.
Oh yeah. Well, that was when he was with Thin Lizzy. But then when him and Phil Lynott got back together and did Out in the Fields, that's the song that I first saw and discovered Gary in '85.
Wow.
And that just changed everything for me. So one of the videos I did when I was working at Ishibashi was we received one of the 60 John Cruise built Gary Moore tribute Stratocasters.
Wow.
And I did an unboxing video. I don't do a lot of unboxings, but I did an unboxing video of that because Gary meant so much to me.
Yeah.
And when I did the unboxing, I just decided this is my moment to tell the world my story about how much I love Gary Moore. So I ended up getting out some GoPros and a few cameras around myself, and I actually recreated the guitar solo on video of Out in the Fields.
Wow.
And I played the whole solo, and I actually had GoPros in various shots because, you know, he did like headstock cams and all that on that song.
Yeah, totally.
And so I recreated the whole solo shot for shot and actually put up in the top corner of the screen the original video with me doing it with my video as comparison. And I played the whole thing on the whole solo and just like knocked it out, and it was so much fun. So I'll show you later on outside.
Yeah.
It's just like a minute-long part of the whole thing.
Yeah, but that's awesome. I want to see that.
I really enjoyed it. It was,
well, it's
Gary inspired.
You know, I saw Gary Moore open up for. It was actually. I was a kid. It was, I think, the Def Leppard Pyromania tour.
I hate you already. I never got to see Gary live because he never came to Australia other than '78, and I was 16.
Sorry. It was Gary Moore, Crocus, and Def Leppard.
Wow.
And Gary Moore
killed them all.
He's incredible.
Yes.
He was using a Les Paul at the time.
Yeah.
And he had tons of Marshall Stacks. And I don't
So what
remember
year
the
was it?
singer. He had a there's like a 4-piece band. He had a singer, a bass player, and a drummer.
So he probably had Neil Carter on guitar and keyboards. What year was it? Do you remember, or what tour?
Pyromania.
Okay, so 83. So probably Victims of the Future album.
Probably. He was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Was he wearing his red jumpsuit?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But he was wearing he was playing a burst, and he would, like, you know how sometimes you go, and you can't get feedback up there.
Not like him.
But he's hold that high E, and it would ring and sing and last forever.
For days.
And I'm a kid going, how do you do that?
Yep. Gary was just like, for a lot of people, it was back in those days, back in the early mid-'80s, it was like, as you said, Randy Rhoads or Eddie.
Yeah.
Yngwie came out, Steve Vai was starting to get better known. But for me, it was Gary. As soon as I found Gary, it was just, that just blew me away. And that's why I play the way I do.
Right.
I'm not necessarily the greatest player, but as you noticed when we played last night, I went for my solo and I just went, because that's just how I can play.
Right.
It's like, if you want some dude to play Dave Gilmour, call somebody else.
Right.
But if you want some guy to get out there and go and really rip into the fucking guitar and, like, you know, that's what I can know how to do. And I learned that from listening to Gary.
Yeah.
You know, and the other guy that really blew me away as a kid because of his orchestration and all the rest of it was Brian May.
Oh, that was amazing. Yeah, he's insane, and he's crazy awesome and awesome crazy.
Yeah, I believe that.
Like, I heard we worked with some people in Brazil that they were talking about touring with Queen, and they're like, he would switch hotels if he didn't like the butter at the hotel.
I see what you're saying now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well.
But you gotta, everything he came up with guitar on that homemade guitar.
Yep.
That he made with his dad. And just this feel, nobody had that feel and nobody had that tone and he's another guy that invented a whole new style of playing.
Totally.
So that's, when I was young, that's what, it was like guys like that like, okay, these guys already exist. I can't be a copycat. I gotta come up with my own shit. And I picked up a lot of stuff from playing bouzouki too, which is a Greek instrument and harder to play. But it's because there's no distortion, there's no gain, so there's no room for error.
Yep.
But it's just the picking came from bouzouki, and then coming up with different dissonant stuff that I like, and then I just kept coming up with different things, and then you start getting gigs and start doing stuff. There was a thing I played on when I played on the Alice Cooper record in 2001. It was Brutal Planet, and Bob Marlette was the producer, and he called me in to just, okay, Rob Zombie gave Alice Cooper your number, and I'm supposed to get you to come in and play on some shit, so can you come in on Wednesday and play on a couple of songs? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I come in. I had to borrow a Les Paul at the time because I didn't have a Les Paul yet. But I had a Great Marshall head. So I walked in with my Great Marshall head and borrowed Les Paul and a Strat. And he goes, okay, so I played all the rhythm guitars and the bass myself. Just looking for some pixie dust. Go. Press record kind of thing, right? So I'm listening and play something. He goes, hey, that was really cool. Can you double it? I have to hear it first because I don't know what I did. Kind of thing, you know, right? So I hear it and I double it. And then he goes, you know, I was only going to use him for a couple of songs, but I think I got 9 you could play on. Can you come back on Friday too? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I came in and, you know, I was doing this stuff. And then at some point, you know, I did the bouzouki tuning thing and I did some other stuff. But when you get to song 9, you're like, fuck, I'm out of shit. I don't know what to do. So I had to take the Les Paul, and I don't have a Les Paul to show you exactly. But say this is the neck pickup, right?
You switched them?
No. I pulled this, I unscrewed the bottom screw of the neck pickup on the Les Paul, and I tucked the high E string under the pickup and screwed it in and tuned it to like a high A, so I could play a really low riff but have a high that
wow.
But clear as a bell. So it'd be that kind of thing.
How corn of you. But no, that's cool. I like it.
But it was funny because then after that, everybody that worked with Bob Marlette after that, they're like, hey, you're the guy that did that thing with the pickup and the screw and the string, and I'm like, yeah, that was me. Fuck, man, Bob was like so blown away, and you couldn't stop talking about it.
That's got to make you feel good when somebody rings you up and they're like, just come in because I'm told to take you, and then they fall in love with you. That's the best validation you could ever ask for as a musician.
Absolutely, stuff like that. When that happens, you know, or even recently, I worked with Tony Visconti, the producer on Perry Farrell's new solo record, And it was the kind of thing where, again, they heard my name and thought they should get me on the record and call me and play in the studio on a couple of songs. And then it was like, can you come back tomorrow? And I'm like, actually, I can't because I'm busy. Well, when can you come back? Next Tuesday? Oh, we're supposed to mix on Friday. Okay. and that it puffs you up. It makes you like, wow. It's so flattering to be recognized as somebody that really adds something to the music that you're producing,
I want to use you as an example to teach the folks out there something important. Being a good musician is great, but it's not going to get you a gig. And it might get you a gig, but it's not going to let you keep a gig. Being a good dude makes all the difference in the world. And we've genuinely become pretty good friends in a very short space of time.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I'm not saying this to kiss Phil's ass, because we talked about so much shit last night that we probably wouldn't normally tell other people, because we've got an insight in the industry and we kind of got like a backstage pass of the whole behind the curtain of all this stuff.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
And you can't really share that with a lot of people because there's a lot of information that you just can't let go of. But this whole thing of what Phil's done and why he's achieved what he's achieved is because he's a good person. Having great talent and great skills and great knowledge and all the rest of it is cool. But if you're an arse, you're not going to get anywhere. The most important thing you've got to do, and I've done things that are controversial that people don't necessarily like, and sometimes in my videos people don't like what I do, but the reality is you got to be a good dude, and that's why you've done so well. So congratulations to you, sir, because that's exactly the way it needs to be. Well done.
Thanks. All right. Pay attention.
It's been a pleasure chatting.
Yeah, it has, man.
It's been really good.
Yeah, awesome.
I look forward to getting this out, and I hope you all get a little bit of inspiration out of this. And just know, once again, that any one of us can become this, because this guy's done it.
You just got to work your ass off.
That's so true.
And I just want to say, because a lot of people are like, wow, I want to get an overdrive pedal, but I just can't afford it. Well, I wash dishes at 2 restaurants, so I can buy a 412 cabinet. So if you want something, you got to work for it.
So true. Unfortunately, we live in an age where people expect to get everything for nothing or for not doing any work.
I really think when I was a kid, I didn't think I couldn't afford it. I thought, what can I do to get the money to buy that?
Nice.
And it was like mow lawns or
it wasn't through shortcuts,
wash dishes,
was it? Huh? It wasn't through shortcuts. It was through putting in the hard work.
And think about it. People, when I was doing Skype lessons and stuff like that, everybody was like, how can I be fast tomorrow? Well, if you want to be fast in 6 months, I could probably help you. I can't help you if you want to be fast tomorrow. No, because it's a lot of work. There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut to a lot of things. So, and we all have ADD. So just focus and practice, God damn it!
Putting this together.
Am I holding it like?
Yeah, do it like a selfie thing. Why not? Did I leave the mic on? Hang on. Let me just check the mic's turned on. Yeah, the mic's turned on. All right.
Okay.
A little bit of B-roll for our interview. We're going to do something fun. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, won't you take me home tonight? Oh, down beside that red light. Oh, you gonna let it all hang out. Fat bottom girls, you make the rocket world go round. Yeah, fat bottom girls, you make the rocket world go round.
Man, that's a lot of singing. I'm turning red. Woo!
Yep.
All right. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Been a pleasure. Rock on. There we go. That's awesome, dude.